Hey everyone, thank you for taking time out of your day to watch this week's message. We believe that God has given us a message just for you. Hey, do me a favor. If you enjoy this message at any point, engage with us. You can like, you can share, give us an emoji, a thumbs up, fire, because it's so important that we have a church that is engaged in the message. Also, let us know where you're watching from. It's so much fun for us to look back during the week and kind of count all the states, even countries that are watching this message. And if we have blessed you in any way, let us know how much of a blessing this is to you and your family. Again, thank you so much. It is an honor that you would take time this week to watch this message, and we hope that it is a big inspiration and blessing in your life. Hey everyone, this is Pastor Daniel Voss. This is my good friend John Slater.
Hey.
And together, John and I, over the last year, have been working on a special project, a new children's book called Mr. Cactus Has a Happy Christmas. Now, John, you have a son?
Yes, I do. His name's David.
And how old is David?
About 2 years old.
So how fun was this to work on this project, knowing that one day your son would read this and you could pass this on to future generations?
Well, it was really a magical experience drawing each page, knowing that I'd be able to show it to my son and he'd be able to point out all the different animals to me. You know, it would just be a great bonding experience, and then I'd be able to tell him that I drew that, you know?
Yeah, John, I'm so proud of you. You did such an excellent job. And one of the things I'm very proud about this book is it's ecologically correct, but it tells the Christmas story in a unique way about how all the animals of the desert relate to the cactus and give him life, and he in turn has given them life as well. And then most importantly, how God sent his son to give us life. So it was a fun project for me. And we want you to know that you can pick up this book not only here at our church, but on Amazon. You can get it there online. And 100% of the proceeds go directly back into the next generation and kids ministry. So John, how many books do they need to buy?
Let's say 5 or 10.
5 or 10, I love that. Buy one for you, your entire family, all your grandkids. Great stocking stuffer.
Amazing.
Christmas gift. And we are so proud of this book and hope that you enjoy it as much as we did in creating it. Hey Mountain View, how are you doing today? I'm excited to announce today that I've written my first children's book. Amen. This is my 4th book, and for this one, I wanted to do something a little bit different, more of a legacy project that I could pass down to my grandkids eventually one day. And next week, this book is going to go on sale right here at Mountain View. As we said, 100% of the proceeds go right back into the next generation here at Mountain View. In fact, we have a indoor playground that we're trying to raise money for that will go and be a part of the new building. I think we've got a little flyover there. As you're watching that, would you help me welcome my good friend, John Slater, to the stage today? John is Mountain View's own, and he actually hand drew every single image that you're going to see in this book. I'm so proud of John. I am so proud of him because the children's book is only as good as the pictures that you see inside. John, how much fun was this?
Amazing. It was so fun.
So when I brought this to your attention back in March.
February.
Tell me the first thing that went through your mind.
I really just couldn't believe the opportunity that you were giving me, because it's always just been a dream of mine to be able to illustrate a children's book.
Yeah, and you have a son, David, so this is a legacy project for you as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, being able to show my son something that I worked on for months and poured a whole bunch of effort and hard work into, it just fills my heart up, you know?
Absolutely. John, one of the things that I am proud about this book is, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to make sure it's done with excellence. So I put a lot of research into making sure it's ecologically correct. And I am proud to say that this book is a unique way of looking at Christmas and how every part of the desert gives life to one another, essentially leading us to the story of Jesus Christ and how he gives life to us. So again, I don't have any problem up here telling you to buy one, not only for you, but for all of your grandkids, your neighborhood kids, their classes at their school. Anybody else we can think of?
Mailman.
The mailman. Didn't even think of that. Because all of the proceeds go directly back into the church. So next Sunday, you're going to have the opportunity to buy them here at Mountain View, along with other things.
Yeah, we have a coloring book, a sticker sheet. We got a single sticker, keychain, shirts.
Shirts. No socks.
No socks.
No socks. But next week, this is going to be for sale here at Mountain View, and all the grandparents get them for your grandkids for Christmas. It's a lot of fun for us to do. We hope that you are as proud of it as much as we are, as we're getting the story of Jesus Christ out there into the community and the world, but also we raise more money for your children, future generations here at Mountain View. Can you help me give it up for John Slater one last time? Thank you, John. Now, Mountain View, would you help me welcome these lovely ladies to the stage today? Come on, I know you can do better than that. There you go. The reason why they're coming to the stage today is over the past several weeks you have heard my perspective on marriage. Obviously, it is a biblical perspective, but it obviously has been seen through a male filter. And I think it would only do the ladies justice and service today if we hear from these ladies about the messages over the past couple weeks, how God has been speaking to them. But most importantly, that the ladies have an opportunity to be understood, and that you can hear things or maybe even have understanding in your life. So today, the title of the message is Women Tell All. Almost all. We're going to keep it right there. Miss Ray, introduce yourself and how long you have been married.
Yeah, I'm Ray, and we'll finish out our 7 years this December, start our 8th, and got 2 little boys at home.
Awesome. Miss Lynette?
Lynette Joseph, Dr. Vern's wife, and we have 2 adult girls, Dominica Renee, 20 and 22.
All right.
Cindy Gilliland, we have been married almost 39 years.
Awesome.
3 kids and 8 grandkids, so you're going to make me buy a lot of books.
8 grandkids, but there's something unique about all your grandkids.
Only 1 is a girl, the
Only
baby.
1 is a
7
girl.
boys, the year of perfection, and then baby girl.
Baby girl, the completion.
Well, my name's Amy Voss, and I've been married for 23 years.
Awesome.
Yay!
Heard a lot of good things.
I have 2 kids, too. We have 2 kids.
We do. I did play a part in that. It was fun. The only part I played in it. So the first week, we talked about marriage being built upon companionship in friendship, that for you to have a good marriage, a healthy marriage, it comes from the word intimacy. Intimacy literally means into me, see. But that's really hard to get to on day one. So I just want to ask this question. In your hierarchy of needs, how important is friendship with your spouse?
Okay, we're so polite up here.
You are way too polite. Just
I know,
go for it.
I know. Friendship is huge. It's a compatibility factor. Obviously, you fall in love, and love is a decision in marriage, but you have to really like your spouse and enjoy spending time with them. And for us, he's my best friend. It's who I want to hang out with. It's who I want to do things with. And they have the ability to share life with, not just because we have to, but because we get to.
Yeah.
And my husband and I, we're going on 26 years of marriage, so we met in high school in the 9th grade. So friendship is very important to our relationship. It was actually based upon that friendship, right? Getting to know each other in high school and him pursuing me. And so it's very important to us, because at the end of the day, I always tell people that without friendship, I mean, what else do you have to fall back on, right? So even though you may have your mate, you have someone that you can speak to, laugh with, joke with, play with, be serious, and it's the best.
Yeah. Renee, Renee, that's your daughter's name. Ray, your relationship with the Porfors is different because you met online, which is a trend today, but it had your learning of how to communicate started from the very beginning.
Yeah, so we met online. So we had no idea who each other was. And so for me, when we kind of started to be like, okay, I think I kind of like this guy, it was an intentional decision that if I wanted to pick up the phone and call my best friend or text her something, I started to text him. So I would start to like include him on those little things in my life. And then he started doing it with me. And so then it just kind of really created like an awesome foundation for us to be like, okay, we're able to actually really get to know each other, establish like a really great friendship. Because I would say like we became friends before we became anything else.
Was he honest about his online profile? I was just curious.
He was honest
He
with
was,
his
all right.
online
I'm just
profile.
curious. He's like 6'5" and
No.
built
It was
like a Mack
honest.
truck.
It was honest, yeah.
Amy, you and I met at a very young age as well. I was 16, and
So friendship is very much that foundation. Like you said, Cindy, it's just you enjoy being together. You enjoy doing all the things together. It's fun. It's exciting, and I think it is. It's the difference between, like you said, loving and liking. But yeah, from the very beginning, we met at 16 and 17, and so we've been able to experience so many firsts together.
Yeah.
Just everything you can think of,
Yeah.
because you're so young. And so I think that helped set the stage for a good friendship. And that's something you can always go back to.
So what does it look like? At different stages and phases of life, what does friendship look like today for each one of you? Cindy?
I think we're in a different stage. We don't have kids at home. It looked different when we were younger, but it looks like date nights. It looks like coffee chats in the morning, enjoying things that they enjoy. And
so let me ask you a question. I want to start right there. You said date nights. Most people would assume 39 years later, you work from home being a realtor and things like that. It's still intentional though.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
And actually, it has to be almost more intentional because we don't have the distractions of kids or those sort of things that keep us from being able to, we're too busy.
Yeah.
We're not having to go to sporting unless it's grandkids things. But so we have to be intentional on saying, no, we're not going to just sit home and watch a movie here, which is great, but we have to be intentional. And ours usually are more like getaways. Mm-hmm. Go away for the night. We went to California for a few days this week and got away and had some alone time in spite of some of our appointments. And we're able to go on walks and do things and just talk and drown out the noise around us, for sure.
It's good.
And to piggyback off Cindy, it's the same. It looks the same here for Dr. Vernon and myself because our girls are adults. And so therefore, like now we're finding ourselves, as of last year, we did our first vacation just together without having a girl. So that was very exciting for us. And as she mentioned, it's just making it intentional to have date nights. Our love language, one of the love language we share together is quality time. And so even though he may work his shift and I work my shift, our shifts never always kind of coincide with each other, but we find time for us, like just watching a TV show together, just wanting to be together in each other's presence is for the most part, it's enjoyable to us. Just watching television or taking a walk. Now that the weather's getting cooler, taking a walk, we enjoy that time together.
Absolutely. What I heard there was intentionality. Yeah. Things do not happen, they are made to happen. You show me what you are today, I'll show you what your disciplines were 10 years ago. What you want to be is the disciplines that you create in your life today. Things just don't naturally happen. They're created to happen. When we talk about companionship and we talk about friendship, we talked about intimacy mean intimacy, right? To get to that place is very difficult. To be soul-bearing, to have the naked being and naked personality we talked about. It's Dr. Brene Brown who says that the highest form of vulnerability is showing who you are, all of your warts and all, without any power over what the other person will do with that. And that's also what makes it the most scariest thing is showing who you are and the other person not liking that. How do you truly get to that point? It's never going to happen on day one. There would be something emotionally wrong with us if we revealed all of us the first day. Amy, talk about how...
Well, I just think it goes along with this friendship conversation. So, friends that you have that are super close, that you would share your deepest, darkest secrets, that you would open up with, there's that sense of vulnerability, right? There's that sense of trust And the trust is built over time because you can talk about those things and you're loved and no matter what, there's no judgment there. But I would say, the same thing in a marriage relationship, but even more so because you're doing life together, so many things together, raising kids together and a household and, work and all the things that that are involved in that. But, there's a lot of experiences that cause moments to be vulnerable. And so I think earlier we were talking about this, like, how do you allow yourself to be vulnerable? And that's something that maybe I struggle with more than you do. You're pretty open, and here I am, where I'm more closed off and introverted. And so I have to really challenge myself in that area and just push myself a little bit more to share. And it can be things like questions, asking questions that get to another question, that leads to another question where there's a little bit more depth to it and understanding. So that's the first thing I think of.
Just talk, ladies. We're sitting around at a coffee table here.
And I think at the end of the day, we know we're two imperfect people that come together, right? And because we're two imperfect people, we always want to put up a guard, a wall. We don't want anyone to see these flaws and imperfection. But at the end of the day, we know we are not. So I think it's just now being safe in that person, with your person, and showing them your true self, knowing that they're going to love you in spite of all these things that you are sharing with them. And your spouse is able to build you up and let you know, I love you. I see you for who you are. You don't have to be someone that you may think I want you to be. So it's just being vulnerable and really just being transparent in that relationship.
And the definition of vulnerability is allowing your weaknesses to be seen and known. Mm-hmm. And why is that so hard? Well, usually it's because of who's on the other side that you're showing.
Yeah.
And I think you have to establish early on, and that has helped us in our relationship, is that no matter what you share, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And this is a safe place. It's not a perfect place. It's a safe place.
No matter what you share, I'm not going anywhere.
I'm not going anywhere. And so with that, slowly, but we're 39 years into this, it's a lot easier to share now. But in the beginning, it took intentionality of being willing to say, I'm going to take a step of faith here, knowing I'm going to share something that, what's his reaction going to be, or what's my reaction going to be to him. And when you see that initial reaction of, it's safe, I'm still here.
Did you intentionally test the waters a little bit?
We did. When we were newly married, had a bunch of little kids, we lived about 4 hours from our family, and so we would drive in a road trip to go see them, and you just have time in the car, and so we started having probing questions where it wasn't just, I love you, I know, but why do you love me? And then you can't just say the little answers like, because you're cute or because you're funny. Well, why am I funny?
Yeah.
Why do you think I'm cute? What do you love about me? What's the cutest thing about me? Or whatever. And we would ask, and it probably drove Damon crazy at first, but then, he got into the game, because who doesn't want to hear what, you love about them?
Yeah, it's reciprocal.
And so we would do that. And it, first of all, it took the car ride, fast, but it made us actually put words to our feelings. Yeah. Yes, I knew I loved him, but why did I love him? What did I just couldn't wait to see him for? And just different characteristics. And it really made us get honest with what we thought.
Yeah.
I want to add to that. So that makes me think too, once you get past the vulnerability and you've experienced growth or a new level of connection with your person, then it's like, I want that more, right? When you've experienced what that's like. So it's worth, I'm saying that to myself because the push through, it's worth pushing through that vulnerability and being open because you know what's on the other side of it.
What's the holding of back of your true self is more detrimental than having loved and lost. And that's something we all have to get in mind is, if we're not honest with this person, who will we ever be honest with? And what am I missing out on? And it's extremely detrimental. We love with closed fist. And you can never truly love or be loved with closed fists. It's when you open your heart and open your hands. So we talk about, and I think this is so important, is to have a healthy marriage, we have to be healthy. Spouses do not change us. they reveal us. Marriage is the greatest mirror that we're going to have in life other than the Holy Spirit. At these different stages in life, how important is it for you to still take care of yourself and understanding that if I don't take care of myself and fill my cup, I will have nothing to give to this person, right?
Yeah, so having 2 little boys at home, it has to be so intentional because I can be like, oh yeah, like my goal is to, go work out tomorrow morning. But then sure enough, I wake up late or, one of my kids, they're fighting or, whatever happens. It has to be so intentional with that. And I would even say to go further than that, I try to map out my days that I'm home with the kids. What are we doing? What's my goals to get out of the day? Am I trying to get laundry done? Am I trying to do something? So then that way, I feel like I have a goal and a purpose because I like checking things off a list. That's something that fuels me. I feel accomplished throughout the day. So that's something I have to be super intentional about. But also if that means maybe spending a little bit more money to, maybe go and get counseling to be emotionally and spiritually healthy. That's something that I've just, kind of finished walking through was I've been doing that for the last few months. And honestly, it's been one of the greatest things I've done because it has opened up so many conversations between me and my husband.
Yeah.
Because after every single counseling session, I call him. I'm like, okay, this is what we talked about. This is what's happening. Okay, what do you think? I finally was able to put words to, whatever it was. And it's just been so healthy and just so good for me. It's been fueling for me. And so taking that time because I can't pour from an empty bucket. So even though I'm taking a time, one of my friends is coming over to watch the boys so that I can do my online counseling, in my bedroom with my door locked. You know, I walk out of those being like, okay, I feel good. I can do this. I can keep moving forward.
Yeah, Lynette, you have a practice as well.
So I'm a hairstylist, so I'm off on Sundays and Tuesdays. So as of last year, I incorporate Self-Care Tuesday. So what that may look like for me is not always the same thing each week of Tuesday, shall I say, but it consists of getting my nails done or getting a facial or getting a massage, right? And so that may look different to you. To you, maybe you like to read, you like to journal, you like to take a walk, you spend time with God, right? As we mentioned, being spiritually filled. And so you may go in your prayer closet, right? So each of us, it may look different as far as what self-care may look like, but it's just taking time for yourself. We in this time in the world, we do have to be big on self-care to take care of ourselves because at the end of the day, we really can't pour into anybody else.
So Cindy, let me ask you this. Do you think women naturally feel guilty for doing that, for taking care of themselves? You had, the 3 little ones at home. And
I think it's hard to know, especially if you don't have finances. And, when our kids were little and I was a stay-at-home mom, I didn't have the money, and I remember an older woman in the church said to me, you need to factor in the money. You need to build margin. And so I started out with 3 hours a week, and she said, no chores, no grocery shopping, no doing the laundry during that time. You go do something for you. And so I went walking because I didn't have any other money to go anywhere else. And so, but that's what I did. But I think also it's realizing what's going to fill your tank. I mean, personally, I'm thinking about the massage thing, and I'm gonna factor in self-care Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. I'm just saying. But I think different seasons of life, it requires different things.
Yeah. So, Amy, I know for you, there's always been a sense of guilt. You've worked since you were 15.
Yeah, I think there's, whether we mean to or not, our identity gets tied up in what we're doing. And whether that's mom or that's wife, or for me it was teacher, or here at the church it was, wherever I was serving. So before long you're like, who am I? What do I like? What do I need to refuel? Because eventually you're gonna hit a limit, you're gonna hit a wall, and you're gonna run out. And guess what? The people that are closest to you get to experience that. Yay for them.
Yeah.
So I think seeing it from a different viewpoint of when I'm healthy, when I'm at my best, then the people around me get my best, and so hopefully they're at their best too. And so don't see it as a selfish thing. You're actually keeping everyone that you love in mind when you're making that effort. You just got to figure out what it is. What is it that fuels you and fills you up?
Yeah, it is not selfish in any way, shape, or form. I can't speak for all the men in the room, but I would say, and men, you can back me up, that we enjoy knowing that we can take care of our queen, whether that be Self-Care Tuesday or providing a home where you can go get your hair done, or counseling, or whatever it may be. We as men want to know, am I right, men, that we can provide for you in that manner? that we can provide for you the way you feel. But what is it that, what can we do as men, you're speaking to the men, to even help that further?
I think for just be encouraging. Like words say a lot, actions say a lot too. But I think for like those days when I am home, getting a text from Porf just saying like, "Hey, I love you. You're beautiful. You're an amazing mom, an amazing wife." Like that means a lot to me. To just know that like, oh hey, he stopped throughout his day and he thought of me, or maybe I sent him a picture of what the kids are doing and he responded to that, but then also like directed it back to me, or if I've had a rougher day, or maybe I didn't. He walks in with my favorite drink, Fountain Dr. Pepper, and that just, it makes me feel so loved that on his way home he thought of me enough to stop and get me a $1 drink.
Yeah, absolutely.
QT.
$1 goes a long way.
It does. It really does.
No, I mean, that's the thing. It's just the extra intentionality and thought that was put behind it, and really just taking the time to listen and pay attention to what your wife is saying, and then show up with, oh, she loves Dr. Pepper. Show up with the Dr. Pepper shows that not only did he do something for me, but he also remembered that's my favorite drink. So like those little details just show how much you really care.
Yeah.
And they
I
do
think,
mean something.
And don't always try to fix the problem, right? That's one that like we try to say a lot. Like sometimes I just need to voice it and not like, I don't need necessarily the answer from you. I just need like to vent, or I just need to get it off my chest, because I know what I need to do most of the time.
Yeah.
So I rarely need the problem to be fixed. I just need like a shoulder to lean on.
So let me kind of flip the script here. Do you wish your husband was more open and honest with you?
I don't need more honesty. I think this comes down to personalities and temperaments, and Damon and I are both communicators.
Okay.
So that's not an issue for us in particular. It's learning how to communicate well. Yeah. And he's pretty honest with what he's feeling, and I'm pretty honest with what I'm feeling.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as we kind of turn the corner here and talk about more the second week and learning how to fight fair, understanding that fighting is necessary for growth. If we don't like the term fighting because it carries a negative connotation, discussing is really important for us, because people don't grow until they're forced to grow or need to know. You have to work through those moments to get to the best answer, to get to know each other on deeper levels, and get to true vulnerability. It only comes on the backside of the hard conversations. How do you handle these type of moments when you're both very passionate and very strong about your opinions and attacking the problem and not the person? Like, how do you navigate these things?
I think for me, because I'm a person that tends to kind of shut down. I don't like confrontation. And so in that moment where there may be a discussion that I'm not quite in agreement with it or not understanding, I need time to process. I need to go in my space and like replay what was said to me so I could process it, dissect it. And then once all that's done on my level, then I'm able to kind of now see it in that person's eyes, in their view, in their lens, and not see it in how I saw it or how I perceive it to be. And so therefore, I'm not looking at it as I'm being attacked, right? And or this is what I need to do or should do. So I need to kind of like refocus what was said to me. And at the end of the day, we have to realize it's not always about who's right. We want to come together in agreement, and we know if we find that's challenging, then we need to go seek God in prayer, right? To just find the answers to that solution.
And I think you have to remember we're attacking the problem, not the person.
Yeah.
And in our earlier years of marriage, we would have little tools in how we communicated, and maybe it was a set of keys or a remote, with something in our hands, and whoever was holding that had the floor. They got to share, and the other person could not interrupt them, because we are both talkers. And so, and they're just, sometimes you're just biting it, like holding on, and then you toss the keys over, or the remote, whatever it is, and then they get to share gently sometimes. And often we say, repeat back, what did you hear me say? Because that's the other side of it. If we're only listening, waiting for our opportunity to speak, then we're not really hearing the heart, that goes behind the words. And so oftentimes it's like, what did you hear me say? And he would repeat it. I'm like, no, that's not what I said. This is what I said. Or vice versa. I would repeat what I thought he heard or he said. And I think that that's so important because so many fights or intense discussions are fueled by misunderstandings.
So you said something earlier, though, Cindy, about Damon, and I think a lot of men could relate to this about the asking questions and questioning.
Oh, yeah. So
Speak into
that was a big thing early in our marriage is if I asked a question of why his stance was so strong on a decision, he felt that I was questioning his leadership. And I said, I'm not questioning, I'm asking questions. Because if I have the full understanding of why this is so important to you to do this or not do this, I'm your greatest advocate. I'm your greatest cheerleader. I'm gonna walk out of this room thinking it was my decision. I'm gonna be complete buy-in. But it was really hard for him to work in the beginning, and even still, if the subject's sensitive enough, we have to really talk through, I'm not questioning you and your leadership, because I am fully supportive and believe what the Bible says. There's headship, and there's only one head in the home, but there is leadership and understanding your role, that you can have leadership qualities in your home, but coming under the covering of the headship of your husband.
I always say this, that leadership and lordship are two different things. If you trust him and you've had vulnerability, then you're more likely to fall under the covering because
Absolutely.
he's been underneath you supporting that the whole time.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is if I know the why,
Yeah,
I'm more likely to follow the what.
yeah.
What happens when he can't give the why?
You have to choose to believe he has sought, because there has been those times.
Yeah.
There's times that he says, Cindy, I can't tell you why I feel this way, but you're going to have to trust me. And ultimately, his accountability goes to the Lord.
Absolutely.
And so I have to trust him because his heart and his intention is for the best for our home.
Yes.
And I know that. So even if I don't understand it, that's where my relationship with the Lord has to be first and foremost, where I step back and say, God, you've mantled him to be the head of our home, so I'm going to trust him, even if I don't agree with it. And then if it falls apart, I can't then hold that over his head and say, well, you blew that one. Yeah. Right? I
Yeah.
can't, because what kind of that's not Christ-like.
Yeah.
I have to step back and realize, so have I.
So, and again, I'm prefacing this question by saying, in the context of what we're referring to, fussing and fighting, what hurts you the most as a female in those moments? In the context of fussing and fighting?
For me, I think it's being misunderstood. Like I'm trying to convey a point, but I'm the more emotional one, so I do sometimes get just flustered, and sometimes things come out, in the wrong way or in the wrong tone. Like I've been told for as long as I can remember, Rachel, watch your tone, kind of thing. And so I think for me, it's like I hurt him by what I said, but that's not what I actually meant to say.
Yeah.
Or how I said it, it wasn't what I said, it was how I said it. And so just that being misunderstood in that. So I've had to learn to take time and really think about, what do I want to say? What am I trying to get at? And if I say it, be like, wait, hold on, wait, that didn't come out right. That's not what I actually meant. And try to work through that to the root of what I'm actually trying to say.
Yeah, Amy?
So I would just say, the hurt is when you don't have healthy conflict, that you don't fight in a healthy way. And I can say that I came into marriage, and I still struggle with this today, is, I didn't have a great example of what that looked like, how to be able to express something with someone else, back to the vulnerability part of it, and to do it in a way where, tempers aren't flared, or you say something hurtful and you lose control. So because I had seen that growing up, I didn't really want that.
Yeah.
So it was easier for me to just shut down and just pretend like it wasn't there, And, but I realized is, can't do that because it is there. It's always there, and it's going to surface in a really unhealthy way through other avenues. So one, being okay with having this discussion, but doing it in a way that's healthy, that you're able to talk, I'm able to talk, and we're able to do that in a safe place where we're calm, cool, collected. You're more the wasp, like you talked about a couple weeks ago, and I'm more of the turtle. So we've definitely had to work through that dynamic. And I'm like you, Lynette, I need to go and process and have space, but I don't want that to be disrespectful to the person who's like, I want to talk about it now. Because there's also the tendency to be like, well, we're good now, so then we don't revisit it. So it's a fine line.
Yeah, we fought more about how we fought in the beginning than we did anything. Because I was the exact opposite, where we were, as men, we just got it out. You know, in 30 minutes over, you know, a home full of boys, you go outside and fist fight, then you come back in, you play. It's just the way it was. But I had to learn to soften and gentle and walk away to
I'm
process.
sensitive emotionally, right?
Yeah.
And so not being able to carry that well and not taking it personally. But I think this goes back to making sure that we're healthy, taking that self-care. What does that mean to be healthy? Well, that's our whole body. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and spirit. So that's spiritually, that's emotionally, that's physically, it's all the things. So being able to bring that into the marriage, into the discussion, into the fight, if I'm healthy and whole, I'm going to be able to do that in a better way that's productive. And overall, we want growth through that.
So let's turn the corner here and get into week 3, and we'll kind of lighten the mood a little bit. We talk about physical intimacy, and I don't want to generalize this. I want to be sympathetic and compassionate in how I ask this or make this statement, is that for men, sex, for the most part, is his number one desire. Yes, there is a physical aspect and component to this, but I really feel like a lot of ladies don't understand that it's also deeply spiritual and emotional for him. That if he does not feel like he is winning at home, he really does feel like he is losing everywhere. And if he does feel like he's winning with you, is good enough for you, is man enough for you, is your hero, all those different things, he does generally feel like he is a winner everywhere. I do not want to objectify women with this statement, but I do think it's a general statement, is why would you say it is more difficult for women to be proactive in this area?
I think for some women it may be difficult because they don't see their inner and their outer beauty. When they look in the mirror, they may see all the flaws. And they have all these thoughts in their mind, in their head, that I'm not good enough, I'm not beautiful enough. They're comparing themselves to other women. And so therefore they can't be intimate with their spouse like they ought to be. But at the end of the day, we have to move past that as women and see the beauty in ourselves, right? Because God made us wonderfully and fearfully, he made us, right? And so if you're with your spouse, he already knows that in his eyes, you're beautiful, you're everything and more that he would ever want, and he chose you. So therefore, we have to push past that, the voice in our head that letting us know, I'm not good enough. We are good enough. You are the one. He sees you, he wants to be with you, and you're the one that he chose. You are his chosen one. So as women, we have to push past our own insecurity and see our beauty within.
I think also for women, sex starts in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, because for when you say that to a man, he's like, that's right, it's on the table. You know, like he's like thinking totally graphic, and it's like, no, it means doing the dishes. You know, and women and men have 2 different ways they're approaching this. I'm just saying with the rest of you.
Yeah, I know that I'm going to be one to get into emails for that.
Yeah, you don't have my email. But, you know, I do think that there's that part. I mean, you've heard the old saying that women are crockpots, men are a microwave, or today an Instapot. Yeah. But in the reality, women are, most women, I should say, are fueled emotionally. And so whether they're home with kids all day and they're worn out, or they're working someplace and they have a career and they come home and they still have emails to check and contracts to write and all those things, their brain is not thinking, oh, let's go get naked. That's just not what they're thinking. So they want, and then if a husband comes up to them and starts hugging them, it's like, are you hugging me because you love me or you want something? And so there's that approach And non-sexual affection is huge.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of women don't always initiate even affection because they think, oh, you think that means I'm dropping everything right this minute. And so that comes back to that communicating and realizing what he needs and what she needs. There's a way to find a way to get around what we need.
Yeah.
And that's by meeting emotional needs, by texting, flirting. That's something I know we haven't really talked about before, but that's something that you have to, sometimes women are wanting that emotional fuel throughout the day so that by the time it's time to.
I always feel like you have to have communication for connection.
Yes.
So if you're communicating all day, you're more likely to have connection.
100%.
And there's no excuse anymore because you have phones, you have different ways to do that. So I know that there's some people out here today that be like, Pastor Daniel has not read a verse of Scripture. We're never coming back to this church again. So I feel like it's my biblical opportunity and duty to read a verse of Scripture at this moment. And I chose 1 Corinthians chapter 7 to read at this moment, if that's okay. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, Paul makes this, it's really an imploration. The husband should fulfill his wife's sexual needs. Amen. The men would agree. Yes, we take that very seriously. Thank you, Ross. I appreciate that. And the wife should fulfill her husband's needs. The wife gives authority over her body to her husband, and the husband gives authority over his body to his wife. Do not deprive each other of sexual relations unless you both agree to refrain from sexual intimacy for a limited time. I want to ask from a female's perspective, and I'm sure that it's changed over the years, how do you hear that verse?
Yeah, when we were first married, I heard that verse not very well, very like begrudgingly, I guess, because I grew up in like purity culture in church. So I at church it was like, don't talk about it, don't think about it, don't do anything here, sign a covenant that you're going to be pure until marriage.
You had the ring, everything.
I had the
purity
ring.
True love waits.
True love waits. I had it all. And then all of a sudden you get married and it's like, okay, now it's fine. Like this is okay. You can flip that switch now to where it's
as
okay.
a duty, or like now I'm.
No, it felt like a duty. It felt like, hey, listen, if you don't do what he wants when he wants, like he's gonna leave. Like he'll find it somewhere else. Like he'll leave you because that's ultimately like your job as a wife was to provide that.
Which is a terrible example from the church.
Terrible. No, it was so terrible. And walking through that, like I also carried so much guilt because then I felt like I was failing him, but like I couldn't get myself to want to do any of it because I was like, well, you're only doing this because I didn't understand that it was an emotional and like spiritual connection for him. And so as we've walked through marriage and as I've walked through counseling, like this has been a big change for us to see that as this is like the one like sacred and like honored gift that God gives us to give each other. And it's meant to be fun and it's meant to be, it's okay if it's awkward, because that's also a part where like I struggle where I'm like, I have no idea what's happening right now. I know nothing. Like, so I feel incompetent. It's true.
But the fun was in figuring it out.
And that's okay. And like, it's meant to be fun. And it's that intimacy between me and my husband that he's the one that gets to see me like that.
To enjoy. It's an
Absolutely.
exclusive gift for both.
Yes.
But that changes. Like, ladies, you're like, we are not touching this microphone.
I think it comes down to understanding the beauty of intimacy and that God created it as a physical expression of a spiritual union. The Bible says God created woman in his image, man in his image, and the only time the full expression of the image of God is in the one flesh expression. And so and honestly, there'd be a lot less fighting if you'd fight naked. Right? I mean, I'm just telling you, you're either going to be like totally uncomfortable, like let's wrap this thing up, or you're going to forget what you were fighting about. And there'd be a lot more intimacy. And so yes, it does change. You're not going to invite me to the next celebration. He's like, how do I not?
Yeah, I don't know what to say. I mean, it's very rare for me not to have anything to say. I understand what you're saying, though. But Cindy, 39 years. Right? 39 years, you get to that place.
Right.
You didn't see it maybe so, but even as a gift day one, you're still, there's so much, you grew up as a very Christian household as well. It's begrudgingly that leads to bitterness.
And it
And
was
that's brokenness.
uncomfortable, and that comes down to vulnerability, what we talked about. It was in the church, you don't do it until you do.
Yeah.
And it's never explained why you don't do it. And that has a lot to do with soul ties and bringing in sexual sin into a marriage, and don't know how to get freed from that. And so then you have problems in your marriage for years, and you think it's each other, but it's really the past that has never been dealt with. Because once that has been crucified and cleansed in your marriage, it's a beautiful thing. And I don't believe women then dread it, because if the husband is wanting to serve his wife, it's something she should enjoy as well. It's not for just the man. And that is a lie that the church, I think, has unfortunately
Yes, 100%.
perpetuated.
I'm going to ask you some questions in rapid fire form, simple answers, okay? I'll try to be slow with them, but I gave in that week 2 some quick tips for men. One was be romantic, which is spontaneous, is unexpected. Be creative. Take the initiative, whether it be planning a date night or starting in the morning, speaking words of life. Serving her, loving her lavishly, and being kind and gentle. Which one of those is most important to you in kind of a word-and-word answer?
Yeah, love lavishly.
I'd say spontaneity, just because our lives very much are structured. So the spontaneity leads to the play and the fun and the vulnerability and the openness of, the rest of the night that Cindy was talking about earlier.
Mine's a servant, and he does a very great job at it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think spontaneity. I mean, for 39 years.
Which is the difference of romance is spontaneity. That is the true definition of romance. So I'm going to ask you the quick tips for women, as I was given women for men, is this: be generous, be available, be open to new ideas. When they talk about it, believing in your beauty, which one of those is most challenging for you as a lady? Again, being just generous, available, open to new ideas, willing to talk about believing in your beauty.
Believing in your beauty.
I think being available. I can put my time into work, into my grandkids, my kids, so I think being available.
Believing in my beauty, and he does a great job encouraging me in that. It's something I've struggled for a while, but I finally have gotten to the point in my life where I believe in and I see my beauty.
Do you think, Lynn, Miss Amy, before I get to you, that's happened because there's a confidence, Cindy, with age?
Yeah,
There really is. There's a confidence that comes with
That's
age.
key right there, sir.
That
Yeah, I truly believe in that, because we go through phases in life. So, I had my girls when I was in my 20s. So 20, then you get pregnant, you gain the weight. Then in your 30s, it's about you being a mom and being there for your kids and running and riffing and doing all that you need to do. So you don't see yourself anymore. It's all about family life. And then I feel in my phase in life, I'm 48, so now I'm in my 40s. So my girls are adult children, right? And so now I have time for me to self-care and see myself, and I'm working harder towards seeing what I can do to physically improve, mentally, spiritually, all that. So for me personally, I feel it does come with phases in life and age bracket and so forth.
yeah,
I would just say the definition of beauty changes, right? When we're younger, it's very much about what we look like. I think as I've aged, I realize that beauty is more than that. It's really just the attitude of who I am and how I, come into that situation. So I think there's a shift there.
Well, beauty and confidence, the most attractive woman is the woman who's confident, and I do think it comes with age. So I'm going to go to the last week, and we talked about the importance of planning and praying and playing and pursuing one another. Which one of those stand out to you?
I would say play. Sorry, I'm covering that. I would say play. I want to have fun and just laugh together, just continue that friendship.
Same. Play again, and I think it goes with the spontaneity part of it. We have a lot of heaviness that we carry as adults, right? Responsibilities as parents and hardships and things like that. So I think we need more play and fun and recreation in our lives. I think God designed us for that. And then just think about what laughter does for you. When the two of you get to share something funny, it just breaks down all kinds of barriers.
Recreation is recreating. It means recreate perspective, recreate anything.
It's playing for me as well. I feel as I've gotten older, I'm more silly and fun, and even I see that with my girls. And yeah, I really should believe, like Miss Amy, we're all saying that just having fun is your friend. It's your best friend, not just your friend, it's your best friend. So, and that's what you would do with a best friend, right? Laugh and joke and be silly and so forth. So yes.
Well, I feel like I'm not giving the right answer by not saying this, but I mean, I feel like play is something we do well.
Yeah, you do it well.
And,
It's easy.
And so it's easy, but I really feel like praying is the one that stood out to me in that sermon, because I think we can easily minimize the power of prayer. And it's something that bonds you together spiritually in your soul, that is something no one else can have. And I think when you pray together out loud, it doesn't have to be an hour prayer. It can be, and you're laying in bed and you just take a moment to thank the Lord for the day and for each other, and you will be surprised how that will bond you together.
Absolutely. A lot of vulnerability and intimacy. You're praying to God.
Right,
So you
right.
learn their heart, what's on their mind, what they're wrestling through. Right. So one idea, ladies, just real quickly, one idea from the series that may be stuck that you'll continue with you for the remainder.
Well, I'll just tag on to that praying thing, and that would be the illustration you two did on the ladder last week. And I just think it is a powerful image for people to see visually that when one person is pursuing the Lord individually and the other one is not, you can't have the intimacy that you're longing for, because one is pressing into the things of the Lord and one is allowing the cares of the world to cause them to pull away from the Lord, and you won't have the marriage you want. And, you know, people have asked us, you know, what's your secret to a happy marriage? Because we really have an amazing marriage. And it really has always come down to one thing. It's not the best book we've ever read. It is, we both love Jesus individually.
Yeah.
And when I pursue Jesus and Damon pursues Jesus, the Holy Spirit convicts me of my selfishness. He convicts me when I don't feel like serving or honoring him, because the Holy Spirit is personal. I don't have to convict Damon of him being selfish. I might want to, but I don't, because I know he's pursuing Jesus, and the Holy Spirit's going to do that for me.
Yeah.
For me, it was that, you know, Eve was created from Adam's hip, so right next, not above or below him, and that she was made to fit just right for him. And I just loved that so much, to be that, you know, God created me to fit just right with my husband, and how best could I support him in his work, and how could we really partner together to just create such like a loving and welcoming home, you know, for not only just our kids, but people around us.
Yeah. Lynette, you have two girls. You told us their ages earlier. What are you telling them as they're trying to pursue Mr. Right, find their man of God? What are you speaking into them?
I speak friendship. I know you all heard that word a lot from me today, because it's very dear to my heart. Because we met so young, and even though my husband pursued me, I wasn't ready for him, right? So we met in the 9th grade, he pursued me, but we had that friendship. And that friendship meant the world to me. As much as he wanted me to be his girlfriend, I wasn't ready for that. Even years later, as we told the girls our love story, I would say, your dad wanted to be with me. I'm like, nope, I didn't want it, because who knows? He was immature, I was immature.
Wait,
Somewhere along
there
the
was
line.
a time in Dr. Vern's life he was immature.
Oh, maybe I spoke too soon.
I've known that guy a long time. I'm like,
but it is friendship, because there's someone you get to talk to and share and laugh and play and just share your secrets with. And at the end of the day, when we want to like have someone tell us that tough thing that we don't want to hear, they're that one, and they're going to tell it to us with love, right? They're not going to hurt us. But we don't always want to hear that sugar-coated advice. We want to hear the truth. And outside of just God and being transparent and vulnerable and sharing your heart and letting someone see into you, friendship with that one that you love, your best friend. That's the advice I would give to any young couple trying to search for their Boaz or
Their
love
Ruth.
of their life, their Ruth, yes.
Amy, in closing, what do you want to say to the ladies who may be hurting and maybe they're not pursuing Jesus together, but they're married?
Yeah, so there's two things. First thought is thinking about, you know, our kids. We have young adults, you know, and so they're starting to shift into, you know, thinking about their future and what that looks like with someone else. And what you said about running hard and fast after God, with all their might and see who's on the right and the left, and not seeking out that person, but like, God, bring them that person. I believe in that. I pray that over my kids every day. But for those, so I'm talking about singles, I'm talking about young adults, and all ages really, but those who are in a marriage right now and it's hard, you're in the tough season, and I just want to say to you to hang on, It's so worth it. It's so worth it. I'm speaking to you right now with 23 years in my experience. So there's been some bumps and ups and downs and hardships, and really we've had to learn so many lessons just through experience. So we haven't done everything right, but I think that bottom line of knowing that we love each other, we love the Lord with all of our hearts, and then we're going to keep pressing on to see what God wants to do with all of that. So when the going gets tough, don't get going. Just plug in harder and just keep working at it and fight for your marriage. Okay, it's not going to be easy. No, it's not going to be easy. There'll be days where it's like, man, this is good. We're on the right track. But then there are going to be days where it's like, it feels like the whole world's coming undone. But I believe it. I trust it. I hang on to it, that God is doing something through our marriage. And the enemy's coming against it because he knows that if this is fortified, all bets are off as far as what can happen. And I'm believing that for my marriage, for my relationship with the Lord, my relationship with Daniel, and my kids and my grandkids, future generations. So I'm just telling you, hang on, keep pursuing God, keep learning and growing, be open and vulnerable to God, let him shape you, own your part. I mean, I could just go on and on. I'm learning those lessons so very well, but it's worth it. Jesus.
Hey everyone, I hope that you enjoyed the message as much as I enjoyed giving it to you. We are thankful, really, that you took the time to watch this message. And do us a favor, you can share and you can subscribe to this YouTube channel. It really is a blessing to us to look back and see how many people are engaged with us in real time to what God is doing here. We also ask this, if we made an investment in your life, help us keep food on the table. Become an investment back into our ministry. You can go to mv.church/give and sow a seed into this ministry of what God is doing right here in the desert. We are bearing fruit. It takes people like you sowing seeds in our ministry to keep that fruit and food on the table.